The case you're about to see is fictional, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the public.
Kenneth Edward Eden, you stand indicted on 2 counts. On the first, you are charged with theft, contrary to Section 1 of the Theft Act 1968, and the particulars are that on the 25th day of June last at Acres High, Barrow Green, in the county of Fulchester, you did steal a silver necklet and pendant, value £7, the property of Barbara Mary Brown. How say you, are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
And on the second count, Kenneth Edward Eden, you are charged that on the 25th day of June last at Acres High, Barrow Green, you did indecently assault Barbara Mary Brown, a minor, contrary to Section 14, subsection 1 of the Sexual Offences Act 1956. Are you guilty or not guilty?
Emphatically not guilty.
Please sit down, Mr. Eden.
Belong now, love. You all right? Do you want to go to the, before you...
In this case, I appear for the prosecution, and my learned friend, Miss Travers, appears for the accused. Members of the jury, as you have heard, there are 2 separate and quite different charges. One of theft of a silver necklet and pendant belonging to a young girl named Barbara Brown, and the other of indecent assault upon that same young girl. Since the 2 events occurred more or less at the same time and in the same place, I shall treat them as conjoint. And I
Did you say conjoint, Mr. Maitland-Wilson?
Your Honour?
Meaning related, associated, loosely joined together. I say that for the jury's benefit.
I'm obliged to, Your Honour. I'll begin by sketching the background to the charges. The accused is a man of some substance. He and his wife live in a substantial bungalow called Acres High on the outskirts of a village named Barrow Green, which, as you may know, is one of the more desirable rural localities of the county. Mr. and Mrs. Eden are and have been for several years what is known as unofficial uncle and aunt to 2 or 3 children at Broom Lodge, which, as you may also know, is a local authority home for children. It usually has some 12 children resident there, one of whom is Barbara Brown, the victim of both the allegations against the accused. She is 14 and a half, and she has been resident at Broom Lodge in the care of the local authorities since she was 6. And I must make it clear to you at the outset that unlike some children taken into care, Barbara is not and never has been in any kind of trouble with the law whatsoever. Now, as I say, Mr. and Mrs. Eden have been for some years an unofficial uncle and aunt to 2 or 3 of the children at Broom Lodge. Excuse me. What that has involved is no more than occasionally having a child to tea or taking them out for the day or something like that. It is voluntary work performed all over the country by hundreds, indeed thousands of people for no other motive than the innate kindness of their hearts. Now, doubtless that was initially the motive of Mr. Eden. But you will hear evidence which, I suggest, may lead you to believe that in the course of time, over a period of time, with regard to this particular young person, Mr. Eden's motives underwent change. Now, members of the jury, children in care are particularly susceptible to being regarded as unstable and unreliable by very reason of their being in care. Well, you are going to have to choose, in this case, between the word of a young person in care and that of a man of substance and position. Of course, the accused stands to lose a great deal in personal repute, if no other way at least, if he is found guilty. But do not let that deter you. All I ask is that you hear the prosecution's evidence and then form your judgment based on the word of whom you do believe. I call the first witness, please, Police Inspector Charles Cripps.
Police Inspector Charles Cripps.
Oh, here comes Miss Lawton now, then. Hello, Miss Lawton.
Hello, Mrs. Davenport.
Barbara.
Hello.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Charles Cripps, Inspector, Fulchester County Police, Z Division. Your Honour.
Inspector Cripps, may we immediately establish something at the outset, please? You know the accused, Kenneth Eden, quite well, do you not?
Yes, Your Honour. We both live in the same village, Barrow Green. His bungalow is almost opposite my own house. We quite often have a Sunday drink together.
You are, in fact, personal friends.
Yes, we have been for several years now.
Thank you. Well, Inspector, could you tell the court, please, in your own words, what happened between you and the accused on the afternoon of Saturday, June the 25th last?
Yes, Your Honour.
Sure.
I saw the accused at his home at 5 p.m. on June 25th last.
This was an official visit, are you saying, Inspector? You'd gone there in the course of duty?
Yes, Your Honour, and I was in uniform.
Aye.
I told him I was there as a result of a complaint which had been made from Broom Lodge Children's Community Home, and that charges were to be made. I then cautioned and charged him. He said, "I want to say something." I again told him that he was not obliged to say anything, but if he did, it would be written down and given in evidence. He said, "Oh, look, Charlie, for God's sake, let's talk about this man to man. Sit down and have a drink." I said, "I can't do that. I'm here officially." He put his face in his hands, remaining seated and silent, and I left shortly afterwards.
Did anything else transpire between you, of any kind, however trivial?
Well, as I said, he was sitting with his face in his hands, and I offered him a cigarette, and when he took it, I lit it for him.
He didn't say anything else, nor you to him?
No.
You sound uncertain, Inspector.
Well, it is possible, Your Honour, that when I proffered the cigarette, I might have said something like, "Have one, Ken," something like that. "Come on, Ken, have one," perhaps.
Now, Inspector, where was it that this took place?
At Acres High, his bungalow, his home.
Yes, I mean, whereabouts at his home?
Outside, in the garden, by the side of the swimming pool.
Was anyone else there?
Not by the swimming pool, no.
Did you see anyone else there, either outdoors or inside, whilst you were there?
No, I did not, but it is possible that his wife could have been resting, asleep perhaps, and not heard the bell.
Yes, well, that's very fair of you. Now, when you got round to the garden at the back of the bungalow, where did you see the accused?
He was sitting by the side of the pool.
Can you describe his immediate surroundings?
Yes, there was a sort of a large fringed sunshade umbrella with a white metal circular table beneath, 3 folding type outdoor chairs, a reclining chair of the sun lounger type. There was a trolley for drinks with the glasses, bottles, a soda siphon, and I believe an ice bucket on it. On the circular table there was a large-sized portable radio with a telescopic aerial. The accused was sitting on one of the chairs with his feet up on the edge of the sun lounger.
What was he doing?
He was holding a glass in his hand, sitting back, apparently relaxing in the sun. I believe the radio was on at a low volume.
What did he say when you appeared?
Nothing. He merely raised his glass slightly, like that, towards me.
Will you tell us what he was wearing?
Yes, dark brown cotton shorts and sandals, a short toweling bathrobe, purplish in colour, and sunglasses.
Yes. Anything else?
Well, I didn't see it at first, but after a while I observed that around his neck there was a thin chain with a silver pendant like an acorn on it.
May the witness be shown Exhibit 1, please. Is that the one?
Yes, or one very similar.
Thank you. I have no more questions. Thank you, Inspector.
Now, Inspector, as you told us, you were on duty at the police station on that Saturday afternoon when the complaint came in from Broom Lodge.
I was in charge of the station, yes.
The complaint was in what form? How did you first hear about it?
Well, I believe someone from the home. I think it was Mrs. Davenport, the house mother. She telephoned giving the grounds of the complaint. And I sent a woman police constable round to the home, and she questioned and later took a statement from the complainant, Barbara Brown. When the statement came back, I decided that 2 charges should be made.
Oh, that was your decision?
I had no option.
Well, these were, or one would have thought they were, almost ordinary routine accusations and charges, were they not?
I didn't consider them so.
Why? Because they were being made against someone you knew? A friend of yours?
It may have had some effect upon me, yes.
Oh, what effect?
It upset me.
Is that why you went yourself and saw and charged the accused, rather than handed it to one of your subordinates to deal with?
Not entirely, no.
Well, what do you mean, please, not entirely?
Well, not only was I upset, I knew that he would be too, and... Well, I thought that if...
Well, yes, go on, Inspector.
Well, to be honest, I thought somehow that if it was me that went round to charge him, well, somehow it might be less embarrassing for him.
But yet, when he said, let's talk about it, you gave him no opportunity to do so.
It was too late. I'd already charged him.
Without any questions or preamble of any kind?
I gave him the necessary formal caution first.
And a cigarette afterwards? And said something like, have one, Ken, or come on?
Yes.
Inspector, I suggest you recall some of your words, but not how you used them. I suggest that because of previous conversations you had had with the accused, between you as men and friends, in which he had told you certain things about himself, I suggest that what you actually said to him was, it had to come, Ken.
Oh, no. No, no, no. No.
Mrs. Davenport?
Well, I had her come in and run straight upstairs to her room. And I went into the hall and called up to her. I'd just made a cup of tea, and would she like one? She didn't answer, so in a while I went up to her room just to see that she was all right, and she was lying on the bed crying. So I thought, oh, well, I'll leave her to it, you know. She'll tell me if she wants to or not, as the case may be.
Then, just as you were about to go away out of the room, did you notice something?
Her blouse, yes. It was torn, about down to here by this shoulder.
Anything else besides that? Any other damage to her clothing?
Her bra strap was broken. I couldn't see that at first, because it was down inside her blouse.
Did you ask her how this damage to her clothing had occurred?
I can't say I did, not specifically like that, no. It just more or less came out in conversation.
What did you say to her? Do you remember?
Well, not very much at first. I just put my arms round her and gave her a bit of cuddling and waited for her to tell me what had upset her, if she wanted to, when she wanted to.
Which in time she did.
Yes.
Mrs. Davenport, I'm not going to ask you what Barbara told you in detail, but I would like to ask you this. Had you given her permission to go to Acres High, the Eden's house, that afternoon?
No one at Broom Lodge has to ask my permission for things. It's not a prison.
No, of course not. Not that I mean to suggest it was. Let me put it another way. Did you know, in advance, beforehand, that she was going?
Oh, no, I did not.
Would you have tried to dissuade her if you had?
Well, I should certainly have tried to talk to her about it at some length, yes.
With a view to dissuading her?
Yes. Mr. Maitland Wilson, I feel you've gone far enough, you know.
Oh, no. Now, finally, Mrs. Davenport, as a result of what Barbara Brown told you, did you then take a certain course of action?
Yes. I phoned the police station, and I asked them how long it was going to be before they did something about that man, Kenneth Eden.
I don't wish you to say things like that, please, Mrs. Davenport. However, you telephoned the police, and what happened as a result?
A woman policeman came to take a statement from Barbara.
Were you present when that statement was taken?
Yes, I was.
Now, did it in any way vary in substance or important detail from what Barbara Brown told you herself?
No, not in the slightest, no.
Now, Mrs. Davenport, how long have you known Barbara?
Ever since she came into care at Broom Lodge when she was 6.
And what is your opinion of her trustworthiness, her honesty?
She is completely trustworthy and honest. I would take her word against anyone else's any day.
Thank you, Mrs. Davenport.
Mrs. Davenport, you're a widow. Your husband died 2 years ago?
Yes.
What was his occupation?
He was a landscape gardener.
Until his death?
No, until about a year before. He lost his job. He was made redundant.
When the firm he worked for was bought by and amalgamated into a large construction engineering group?
Yes.
Of which Kenneth Eden is the managing director.
So I've been told recently. I didn't know it before.
Before? Before what?
When Barbara first started going to the Edens, I didn't know who he was.
Well, how well do you now know Mr. Eden?
Not very. He and his wife have been to Broom Lodge once or twice when they brought Barbara back in the car.
Well, now, Mrs. Davenport, when you were answering questions in examination a little earlier, you made a remark which my learned friend, counsel for the prosecution, said was the sort he did not wish you to make. Because, of course, it very clearly revealed your animosity towards Mr. Eden. Now, you said that you telephoned the police and asked them, I think I noted this correctly, how long it was going to be before they did something about him. Now, what did you mean by that? Did something about him? In what way?
Oh, nothing particular.
Oh, come now, Mrs. Davenport. Meant get him into trouble. Or at the very least put him in an awkward situation of some sort, did it not?
Well, yes, I suppose so, but really it was just a sort of phrase.
Well, why did you want him to be got into trouble? For what reason?
Because I didn't like the way he'd been carrying on.
Carrying on? Would you like to be a little more specific?
He's old enough to be her father. A man of his age taking advantage of the feelings of a girl as young as that.
It has not yet been proved at all that he has taken advantage of her. This is so far merely your supposition.
Yes, well, we'll see.
Yes, we shall indeed. But we've already established one thing very clearly without any doubt at all, haven't we? That long before this case is concluded, there is no doubt in your mind as to his guilt. It was you, Mrs. Davenport, wasn't it, and no one else but you, who set in motion the events which led to Mr. Eden's being here in this court today by your phone call to the police, wasn't it?
Well, somebody had to do something.
Why? Because Barbara wouldn't have done anything if it had been left up to her?
Oh, really, Mrs. Davenport?
Barbara Mary Brown. Wait.
Barbara. It'll be okay. Good luck. It's Linda, isn't it?
Hey?
You don't remember me. I'm Rachel Lawton from the Social Services Department. What are you doing here, then?
They said for me not to talk to anyone. Anyone at all, right?
Right. Sure, right. Yes.
Barbara, I'm sure this is not going to be easy for you, but unfortunately it is necessary. However, I will do the best I can not to make it too unpleasant or upsetting for you.
Yes.
Now, will you please, first of all, tell us what happened round about lunchtime on that day in question, Saturday, 25th of June last?
Did you mean the phone call?
There was a phone call to the Children's Home Broom Lodge, was there? Who took the call? Who answered the phone?
I did.
And who was it from? Yes, will you say, please?
Him. Mr. Eden.
What did he say?
He said, would I like to go to his house that afternoon?
Yeah, how did he phrase it? Do you remember his words?
I think it was something like, would you like to come and have tea with me and Margaret this afternoon?
He did specifically mention Margaret, that's his wife, Mrs. Eden, did he?
Yes.
And when you got there and found that she wasn't there, did he say where she was?
He said she'd had to go out, but she'd be back before long.
He gave you no indication at all of what the true situation was, that she had gone to her mother's and she wouldn't be back that day or that night.
No, he said she'd be back before long.
Yes, and so. Well, however, when you got to the bungalow, Barbara, what time was that?
About 3 o'clock. I caught the 2:30 bus from the marketplace.
Yes. Now, will you tell us, as well as you can, please, in your own words, what transpired subsequently?
Sorry?
What happened?
Oh, well, it was a nice day. And he, Ken, Mr. Eden, he said all he was going to do was sit in the sun by the swimming pool and just sort of, well, sunbathe. He said, would that be all right? Would I like to do that too?
Did he say what he meant by that?
Sunbathe? Well, just sort of sunbathe, that's all.
Did he, for instance, suggest that you took any clothes off?
No. Well, I made it. I only got some blouse, skirt and sandals on. There's really no need to take anything off.
May the witness be shown exhibits 2, 3 and 4, please. Are those the blouse, skirt and sandals?
Yes.
And what else were you wearing, Barbara?
Nothing. Well, I mean just brown pants.
Exhibit 5 and 6, please. Are those they?
Yes, I think so, yes.
And were you wearing anything else? No, I don't mean clothing, but there was one other thing you were wearing, wasn't there?
Oh, the chain with the little silver acorn on it, yeah, around my neck.
Exhibit 1.
Yes, that. Aunt Flo gave me that for my birthday in May.
Auntie Flo being Mrs. Davenport, the house mother. And what was he wearing, Mr. Eden?
Swimming trunks, you know, shorts and a sort of purple bathrobe thing.
Yes, now you went by the side of the swimming pool. On a chair, did you sit, or where?
He used to one of the chairs. I learned that sort of long thing you stretch out on, like a sort of camp bed.
A sun lounger. And did you talk to each other?
A bit at first, just chatted and things.
Yes, well, will you go on, please? In your own way, in your own words.
Well, I got a bit dozy in the sun. I think I was asleep soon. I don't really know. He was saying something about the silver acorn thing on the chain. He'd not probably seen it and could have a closer look. He took it off, the chain I mean, and fastened it. And then, well...
Yes, well, don't hurry, don't distress yourself.
Well, a bit later on, I don't know, perhaps I've been asleep in between. But I realised he had my blouse. He was fiddling with my bra, trying to get his hand in.
Now, where was he then? On the sun lounger by you, standing, leaning over you, or where?
He was sort of kneeling down by the side of me. He was kissing my hair. I could smell the smell of drink when he breathed.
Now, when, as you say, half asleep, you felt that's what he was doing and realised that he was trying to take advantage of you, what happened?
I jumped up. I woke up with a shock. I told him he was a dirty old man and I'd tell his wife.
Immediately, as soon as you were aware that he was touching you, that's what you said and that's what you did?
Yes, straight away. That's how my bra strap got broke, because his hand was caught in it, and it tore my blouse too.
Yes, and when you did that, what did he do?
He was more or less on his hands and knees. He started to cry and told me he loved me and things like that, and please not to tell anyone.
And what did you say?
I don't think he said anything. Just ran round to the front and out of the garden. I hoped there'd be a bus back, but there wasn't. So I went back to Broom Lodge the long way round through the woods, because I don't want anyone to see me with my blouse torn and things.
Now, Barbara, I want you to think very hard before you answer this, please. Did you in any way, either by what you said or what you did beforehand, give him any reason at all to think that you might welcome an advance of that kind from him?
No, I didn't. No. Well,
Yes?
well, once before, I mean, another time. He sort of all touched me accidentally and I jumped away. I told him I hated it. I hated anybody touching me.
And on this occasion, when he did that, how did you feel? Did you feel very frightened?
No, I wasn't frightened. I was more disgusted, I suppose, than anything, mainly.
Yes. Would it be too much to say that you had always, well, really, looked up to Mr. Eden?
I'd always thought of him, well, like a second father to me, really. I'd hoped he would be that.
Yes. Thank you, Barbara.
Are you all right?
Yes, thank you.
Would you like a glass of water?
No, thank you.
Well now, Barbara. At the beginning of his questioning of you, my learned friend, counsel for the prosecution, said that he would do his best not to make things too unpleasant for you. Well, I am not going to give you that promise. I do sincerely assure you.
Kenneth Eden has pleaded not guilty to indecently assaulting Barbara Brown, who is now being questioned by counsel for the defense.
Said that he would do his best not to make things too unpleasant for you. Well, I am not going to give you that promise. I do sincerely assure you. Barbara, do you always dress like that?
It's my school uniform.
I didn't ask you that. I said, do you always dress like that?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
No, well, sometimes isn't by any mean always, is it? So I'll take it your answer is no, shall I? Whose idea was it, for instance, that you should come here today dressed like that?
I didn't want to come dressed like this. It was Auntie Flo, Mrs. Davenport. She said I'd got to.
Thank you, Barbara. Now, tell me, Mr. and Mrs. Eden have been your unofficial uncle and aunt for how long now? Is it nearly 4 years?
About that time, yeah.
And, of course, in that time, they've both naturally become very fond of you. Well, they have, and I'm quite sure that you know it. Now, first of all, I want to make it absolutely plain to you that it is not going to be Mr. Eden's defence against these charges that when you went to his home, Acres High, on that Saturday afternoon, June 25th last, that you yourself in any way encouraged him or egged him on, as the saying is. Now, is that clear to you?
Yes, because I didn't.
No. Just a minute, please. Just answer the question as I say, yes or no. And it isn't going to be his defence either that on that afternoon he had had somewhat too much to drink and therefore didn't properly know what he was doing. Is that clear to you also?
Yes.
Thank you. And next and thirdly, it is not going to be Mr. Eden's defence that he did in some perfectly innocent way come into contact with you or touch you, and that you unfortunately completely misunderstood what it was that he was trying to do. Is that clear to you also?
Yes.
Good. And nor, finally, is it going to be his defence that some slight physical contact of a very faintly sexual nature did, in fact, occur, and that, unfortunately, you yourself exaggerated it out of all proportion completely. Do I make it plain about that?
Yes.
Good. Well, now you see, Barbara, Mr. Eden's defence is going to be that he never in any way laid hands on you at any time at all during your visit to his house that afternoon. And that even your story about the chain and pendant is incorrect. He did not ask to see it, let alone unfasten it and take it from around your neck. I repeat, he will say in no way, at any time, anywhere, did he touch you at all. Now, is that quite clear to you?
Yes.
Good. So that it follows then, doesn't it, that if what Mr. Eden says in his defence is true, that you yourself are therefore a total out-and-out liar. Well, are you?
What? Oh, no, I'm not. He is.
Yes, well, we shall see. Let's begin, shall we, with that telephone call you say you had on the day in question. I think you said it was round about lunchtime on the Saturday. Where is the telephone in Broom Lodge?
Down by the side at the bottom of the stairs in the hall.
An astounding coincidence, wasn't it? Wouldn't you say that it just happened to be ringing as you were passing? And you answered it, and lo and behold, who should it be but Mr. Eden ringing up to speak to you? Well?
Yes, it must have been just pure like it happened like that.
Yes, it must indeed. And did you tell any of the other children about it? I mean, before you went to Mr. Eden's house, did you tell any of the other children or young people at Broom Lodge?
No.
And Mrs. Davenport, the house mother, did you tell her?
No.
Why not?
Why should I?
And you didn't even tell Mrs. Davenport either that you were going out, or where you were going?
No, we don't have to tell her everything. It's not a prison.
There is a reason for your not mentioning it to Mrs. Davenport, isn't there? Might it not be that you didn't do so because you knew that she wouldn't approve of your going there to Acres High, to Mr. Eden's house, and so you didn't want her to know where you were going? Is that so? Is that why you didn't tell her?
Well, I don't think, I'm not
Oh,
sure
Barbara, I suspect that you're quite deliberately trying to make out that you're, what shall we say, a bit slow on the uptake, and that is a transparent pretense. You're putting it on. Now, I'll ask you the question again, and before you answer, remember, please, that we've already had Mrs. Davenport's own evidence on this subject, so be very careful what you say. Now, I'll ask you once more. If you received that phone call as you allege that you did from Mr. Eden, then a possible reason for your not telling Mrs. Davenport about it was that you knew if you did tell her, she would try and talk you out of going. Now, is that right? Is that why you didn't tell her?
I suppose so, if you like, yeah.
Well, what does that mean? If it means yes, will you say yes, please?
Yes, it means yes.
But why on earth should Mrs. Davenport talk you out of going to? Or want to? Or try to?
Because she didn't like him.
Who? She didn't like whom?
Mr. Eden.
And Mrs. Eden? She didn't like her either?
Mrs. Eden wasn't going to be there.
Well, now, Barbara, That's a very interesting answer, isn't it? Because you see, how on earth would Mrs. Davenport know that Mrs. Eden wasn't going to be there when you have already told us that you yourself didn't know? You said earlier, didn't you, that Mr. Eden had told you quite plainly that she was going to be there. He asked you to come for tea with him and his wife, Margaret, didn't you? Isn't that what you said?
Yes, no, that's right, no. Mrs. Davenport couldn't have known, no.
Barbara, it is quite clearly obvious to everyone, isn't it, that you've made all this up. And that is why you've got yourself into such a terrible tangle now. There was no phone call, was there?
Oh, yes, there was.
Well, I'm afraid you'll find it very hard now to convince anyone of that. However, let's go on with the rest of your story, shall we? Now, you've told us, haven't you, that when you got to the bungalow before very long, Mr. Eden made it clear to you that his wife was not there, did he not?
Yes.
And when you found out that his wife wasn't there, that didn't in any way alarm you, though, did it? The knowledge that you were there with him on your own?
No.
And you and he sat and chatted, you say, for a while by the side of the swimming pool?
Yes.
What about?
Nothing particular. You know, just this and that.
No, I don't know. Tell me what you did chat about. One thing.
I can't remember.
Nothing? Not a single thing?
No. Well, you don't.
You remember with great clarity every single detail of subsequent events. Are you seriously suggesting...
Yes, that's right. Yes. He said he was getting more like his Miranda every time he saw me.
Miranda?
His daughter. Her over there. I think it was that time, but it could have been some time else.
What did he mean you were getting more and more like Miranda? In what way? In looks?
I don't know what he meant.
Well, however, in fact, you say very soon, after a bit of chat about this and that, you lay down on the sun lounger and then you dozed off, almost asleep.
Yes.
With, of course, no fear whatsoever that, to use my learned friend's somewhat old-fashioned expression these days, that Mr. Eden might try to take advantage of you. Never even crossed your mind that he might. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Barbara, do you know what the word fantasy means?
I think so. Yes, sort of.
Well, I'd like to make quite sure that you do, in view of what I am going to say. A fantasy is a sort of dream, you know? And sometimes, if we make up a fantasy and we keep on thinking about it, that fantasy becomes so real that we end up believing in it completely ourselves. And you've had a fantasy, haven't you? You've built it up and up in your own mind for a long, long time now. And it was that Mr. Eden was in love with you. He really fancied you, as the saying is. Isn't that so, Barbara? Hmm?
No, it's not.
You mean you've never, in your imagination, played a little game about him? Pretended some incident, for instance, in which he told you that he loved you?
No, never. I never have.
Barbara,
never.
I really don't want to be unkind, but are you, or were you at least yourself, in love with him?
No, of course not. That's stupid.
Well, did you send him a card in a box on St. Valentine's Day last year? It wasn't signed, but where it was printed on it from, you had printed, guess who? Barbara, nobody likes putting you through this, but Mr. Eden's whole name and reputation is at stake, so will you please answer? Did you send him that Valentine card last year?
It was a joke, a silly, stupid, bloody stupid...
You were in love with Mr. Eden, and you hoped, to use an everyday expression, that sometime he would feel the same about you and make a pass at you. Isn't that correct?
No.
But he didn't. He didn't, and time went by, and he still didn't. And that hurt and disappointed you. And so one day, when you'd been there at his house with him, and nobody else was there to prove that what you said wasn't true, you made up this story to get your own back on him and hurt him in return. And you made up this story about him doing just that and telling you it was because he loved you. Isn't that so, Barbara?
No, he did it. He did it.
Barbara, once and for all, will you admit the truth?
I hate it. I always hate it when men try to touch me. All of them. I thought he wasn't like that. That's what I thought.
I have no more questions to ask you, Barbara.
Do you wish to re-examine your witness, Mr. Maitland-Wilson?
Oh, no, thank you, Your Honour. No.
I see. Well, then, in that case, thank you, Miss Brown. You may leave the witness box. Thank you.
5 Kings Court, Barncroft Avenue, Fulchester.
And are you a senior social worker employed in the local authority social services department?
Yes, I am.
And is one of your particular responsibilities a group of 3 children's community homes in the area?
Yes, it is.
One of them being Broom Lodge?
Yes.
You're not resident there, but you visit there in a supervisory capacity, is that right?
Yes, I visited about 3 or 4 times a week.
And it is part of your job, I think I'm right in saying, isn't it, to get to know the children and young people who are there?
Yes, as well as supporting the staff.
And Mr. and Mrs. Eden, Barbara's unofficial uncle and aunt, as I believe they're called, you know them?
Mr. Eden I've met several times over the past 2 years since I came to this area. Mrs. Eden I've only met once very briefly when she came to the office.
You visited Eden's home, Acres High, their bungalow at Barrow Green?
Yes, once on one occasion I was passing and went to collect Barbara from there and give her a lift back to Broom Lodge.
Now, Miss Lawton, did you, some 6 months ago, after several conversations you had had with Barbara, feel it was incumbent upon you to advise Mrs. Davenport, the house mother at Broom Lodge, if not actively to dissuade Barbara from continuing to go to the Eden's house, then at least to try to discourage her from doing so?
Yes, I did.
Because it... I'm sorry, yes, please go on.
I was going to say that I'd had lengthy discussions with my superiors. I didn't just take the decision on my own.
Yes, thank you. Because it was your considered opinion, was it, as a highly qualified social worker, that the relationship was one which should not be encouraged to develop?
Yes.
Thank you. And now, finally, Miss Lawton, I know you will agree that it's better to be perfectly open about this. Would you be prepared to say what sort of terms you and Mr. Eden are on?
Well, we're not on any sort of terms at all now, but in the past, last year, for instance, we were openly on very bad ones.
Now, Mr. Eden did, at that time, I believe, did he not, within a short space of time, write 2 letters to the Social Services Department complaining about you and saying he thought you were a most unsuitable person to be doing the job you were doing. Isn't that so?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Miss Lawton.
Miss Lawton, how many children are there in community homes, that is in residential care, in this area?
39.
And how many people are there who hold these positions of voluntary aunt or uncle to some of them?
11.
And how many of them do you approve of?
I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean by approve of. They're all approved by the Social Services Department, if that's what you're referring to.
No, it isn't. Because I believe you yourself have certain views, don't you, of a very definite nature about what sort of people are suitable for children in care to come into contact with and what sort of people are not.
Well, I'm not sure I'm very different from anybody else in that respect.
Well, you've made it quite clear that you don't think the Edens are really very suitable as an unofficial aunt and uncle. Are you going to enlighten us in any way at all as to why?
I'm never very happy to see very wealthy people indulging in patronising benevolence towards those who are denied a fair share of society's wealth. And the gratitude they think they deserve for it I find very distasteful.
Miss Lawton, please don't regard this courtroom as providing you with a platform for making political speeches. Now, you are, I believe, are you not, a member of something called WASP?
That's right, yes, I am.
Would you tell us, please, what these initials WASP stand for?
The Workers' Anarcho-Syndicalist Party.
An extreme left-wing organisation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Clichés like left-wing and right-wing are completely meaningless as far as I'm concerned.
Well, however, this party you belong to is, as its name suggests, among other things, anarchist, is it not so?
It has some similarity, only some, with orthodox anarchism.
Well, forgive me, Miss Lawton, if I'm unable to tell the difference between that and extreme left-wingism. However, it is your membership of that very extremist party that Mr. Eden regards as making you an unsuitable person. For your job, someone who is and will always take every opportunity to be unsettling, not to say a disruptive influence on the children and the young people. Well?
I'm sorry, was that a question? I was under the impression it was a political speech.
Miss Lawton, please don't be rude and impolite.
Oh, is that entirely your prerogative?
Miss Lawton, it's very wrong of you to answer learned counsel in that fashion, and you will kindly desist from doing so.
Yes, Your Honour. I tender my apologies.
Well, Miss Lawton, I will ask you again. It was because of your political affiliations and activities that Mr. Eden felt you were an unsuitable person to be so closely involved with the children, and that was why he wrote as he did to your employers.
I don't accept that was why he wrote.
Oh, very well. Well, finally, may we go on now to a subject which we have heard, quite rightly, I'm sure you are highly qualified to talk about. Would you agree that a young person from Barbara's sort of background would be more inclined than most to indulge in daydreams and fantasies?
Do you mean sexual daydreams and fantasies?
Well, I wasn't going to be quite so specific, but yes, if you like.
No, I wouldn't. Quite the reverse. I think most psychiatrists would tell you that quite the most fervid imaginings of that kind among their patients comes from the so-called middle and upper classes, because they have easier access to the material to stimulate the imagination.
Oh. I am most grateful to you for that lesson, Miss Lawton.
Miss Lawton, since it was my learned friend who insisted on pursuing this subject, might I ask you a little more about what you were referring to when you said you didn't feel it was entirely your political activities that Mr. Eden objected to when he wrote complaining about you to your employers?
Yes, well, there was a certain amount of personal tension in the situation as well.
Yes, will you be more specific?
About a year ago, his daughter Miranda and I started to share a flat together when she left college. I think he feels I'm a bad influence on her, and not just politically. In one of his letters to my employers, he made personal accusations about my morals.
Your morals, Miss Lawton?
Yes. On one of the first occasions when I first met Mr. Eden, he surreptitiously pinched my behind. I told him I didn't much care for middle-aged men who couldn't keep their hands to themselves. And ever since then, he's tried to bolster his ego by persuading himself that what that meant was that I didn't like any men.
He was suggesting something of that nature, was he, in the letter he wrote to the Social Services Department?
He wasn't just suggesting it. He actually said it.
I see. Thank you, Miss Lawton. Oh, did Your Honour wish to? Thank you, Miss Lawton. You may leave the witness box. I call Miss Linda Mason, please.
Miss Linda Mason.
And Linda, Miss Mason, that is, how old are you?
18 and a half.
Up till 6 months ago you were in the care of the local authority, is that right?
Yeah, my mum died when I was 12.
And until about a year and a half ago, in fact, you lived at Broom Lodge Community Home.
Children's home, yeah. Off and on.
Were you a particular friend of Barbara Brown's?
No, she was too young for me when we were there.
Now, at one time during the time you were at Broom Lodge, when you were about 14 or 15, wasn't it? Did you have someone who became what's called, I believe, unofficial uncle and aunt to you?
Yeah, him there and his wife.
And do you see that person here in this courtroom here today?
Yeah, him there.
Mr. Eden?
Yeah, right, yeah.
And did you sometimes go to their house on visits, for tea perhaps, or something like that?
Yes, a lot. Well, for a bit I went a lot. 2-3 months, perhaps.
However, after a time, after a few months, you say, you stopped going any more, did you, to the Eden's house?
Yes, I did.
Entirely of your own volition?
Pardon?
Or was it entirely your own idea not to go there anymore?
Yeah, right.
And why didn't you want to go anymore?
Because I got sick of him always trying to get me in a corner and pull me all the time.
He tried to interfere with you. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I wouldn't call it that. I'd call it something different. Only if that's a legal name for it, well, that's what he tried to do, yeah.
And have you ever, since that time, mentioned that particular subject of your experience to Barbara Brown?
No. Like I say, I don't know Barbara Brown. I mean, I know her by sight. I've seen her once or twice. I know that's her there. But we're not friends or go out together or things like that.
Thank you, Miss Mason.
Linda Sharon Mason, isn't it?
Yes.
Miss Mason, were you convicted some 4 months ago of 3 offences involving dishonesty?
Don't know what you mean.
Oh. You mean you don't know what dishonesty means? 2 offences of handling stolen goods and 1 of dishonestly receiving them? Well, were you convicted of these offences or not?
No, I was let off. I was put on probation.
Oh, I see. You think being put on probation means being let off, do you? Well, that's of course a matter for your probation officer to enlighten you about. It's no concern of ours here today. However, what is our concern is, were you found guilty of those offences?
I wasn't found guilty. I pleaded guilty.
Which, presumably, you were.
Well, yeah, I suppose so.
Well, thank you, Miss Mason. Now, did I understand you to say earlier that you weren't a friend of Barbara Brown's? Never been out anywhere together? Never?
No, well, I mean, not on our own we don't. I mean, a bit ago, with 6 or 7 others once, we went to Electric Glowworm, yeah. That's all.
You went where?
Electric Glowworm.
It's the name of one of the currently prominent rock groups, Miss Travers.
I see. Thank you, Your Honour. You went to a concert, or whatever it is, not very long ago with Barbara Brown.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure it's not necessary for me really to ask you this question, Miss Mason, because I'm equally sure I know what your answer will be. However, I will ask it. And did you discuss with her then, or have you discussed with her since, this case, which then was going to come up?
No, we never did. Not a single word.
I see. Thank you, Miss Mason.
Oh, no, thank you, Your Honour.
Yes, thank you, Miss Mason. You may stand down. Is that your case, Mr. Maitland-Wilson?
Your Honour.
I call Kenneth Edward Eden.
What is your religion?
Church of England.
Take the Bible in your right hand. Read aloud the words on this card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Kenneth Eden has denied indecently assaulting Barbara Brown. Today, the jury reaches its verdict.
Mr. Eden, you exercised your right to be tried by judge and jury. Why did you do that?
Well, excuse me. I have a number of friends who are on the bench, who are magistrates. I expect to be acquitted of these charges because I'm innocent, but I want no one to be able to say afterwards that the verdict was the result of my being influential.
Thank you. Well, now, can we turn to the events with which we are here particularly concerned? Those that are alleged to have taken place on Saturday, June the 25th last. Mr. Eden, did you on that day telephone Broom Lodge Community Home for Children, speak to Barbara, and ask her to come and have tea with you and your wife at home?
No, I did not.
Did you at any time, say the day before or during the week before, ring her up and invite her or ask her in any other way for tea on that Saturday?
No, I did not. We know her. She knows us much too well for that by now. She doesn't have to wait to be asked. She just comes when she wants to.
And she does that quite frequently?
Well, in the past 12 months, I should say at least once a month, perhaps more.
And when she's been, have you and your wife always both been there?
Well, this day, June the 25th, was the first time she's ever been when my wife wasn't there.
About what time did she arrive?
I think shortly after 3 o'clock.
And what was said in the early conversation between you?
I told her that my wife wasn't there.
Within how long of her arrival was it, do you think, that you told her that you were on your own?
Oh, within the first 5 minutes at the very outside.
And did you say more than that to her, more than just that your wife wasn't there?
Yes, I did. I said that Margaret, my wife, had to go over to see her mother because she wasn't well, but that she'd be back before very long.
Was that true?
That she'd gone to see her mother? Yes. That she'd be back soon? No. I knew that she intended to stay there overnight.
Well, why did you tell a deliberate untruth?
Because, sorry to have to say this, but because I thought it was wiser to give Barbara the impression that we wouldn't be alone together for long.
And why did you think that was important?
Well, to put it in colloquial terms, I knew that Barbara had what's called a crush on me. And I didn't want there to be any risks of her getting any ideas in her mind that, well, that we might have a chance to make love or something of that sort.
Can we pass on now, Mr. Eden, to what happened after her arrival? When she arrived, you yourself were wearing shorts and a toweling robe, is that right? You were just about to spend the afternoon sitting by your swimming pool.
Having a drink, listening to the cricket on the radio and so on, yes.
Did you ask Barbara if she would like to have a swim?
No, I most certainly did not.
Well, you say that with some emphasis. Why?
Because I'd have thought that if I'd really been, as it's alleged, trying to seduce Barbara or whatever, one obvious way of starting would be to try to think up some way of getting her to take her clothes off, which, suggesting she had a swim, would be one very simple way of doing. But I didn't suggest it, nor has she alleged it either.
Yes, I'm sure that that is a point that the jury will be very well aware of. Now, Mr. Eden, will you tell us what did happen by the swimming pool?
Nothing happened. I mean, for God's sake, if the word of a girl like her is going to be taken rather...
Mr. Eden, I know this is a very stressful time for you, but if you will just confine yourself to answering the question that I ask you. When I say to you what happened by the swimming pool, I am not using the word happened as a euphemism. I am simply asking you to tell us plainly the sequence of events. Will you?
Yes. I see. I'm sorry, yes. I'll try my best. Well, as I say, I was just going to sit by the pool, in the sun, listen to the cricket. I asked Barbara if she'd like to do that for a while too. She said she would, so that's what we did. That. No more.
Did you offer her any kind of alcoholic drink?
No, I did not. And I'd like to make that point too. Though that's another thing I'd almost certainly have done.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Eden, but may we just stick to the answers to my questions, please? Okay. Now, Barbara has said that she lay on the sun lounger and that after a while she became dozy. And then sometime after that, she was aware of your saying something about never having had a proper look at the chain and the silver pendant she was wearing around her neck.
I categorically and absolutely deny it.
Yes, but please, Mr. Eden, however strong your feelings are, please allow me to finish my question before answering. Now, she went on to say, he took it off, the chain, I mean, he unfastened it. Did you?
I swear, on my solemn oath, that the chain and pendant were neither mentioned nor did I ever touch them ever.
No, you mean you never touched the chain and pendant while she was there?
I mean I never touched them ever.
Mr. Eden, listen to what I say, please, and then think about what you say in reply. You deny touching or unfastening the chain from round her neck while she was there. But, of course, it is agreed that when Inspector Cripps arrived, the chain and pendant were round your own neck. Now, will you tell us, please, how they got there?
Yes, I see. Yes, I'm sorry, certainly yes. Well, I don't know when, actually, it was that Barbara left, but about 5 minutes, perhaps, after she'd gone, I happened to glance down at the tiles under the recliner, the chair, and saw the pendant and chain. Well, it had fallen off, or she'd taken it off and then dropped it by mistake. Well, I didn't want to put it in the pocket of my robe or my shorts in case I forgot it, so I quite unthinkingly put it round my own neck.
And when she went, was her clothing, her blouse, torn, for instance?
Of course not. She did that herself. Later, on the way home, I suppose.
Now, Mr. Eden, another one of your, what shall we call them, detractors, whom we heard from, was Miss Lawton, the local authority social worker. Now, what she said was...
I categorically and absolutely deny that I made a pass at her of any kind, let alone try to pinch her bottom, as she says. Quite apart from anything else. She isn't my type in any way.
Mr. Eden, on at least 2 occasions now, Your counsel has had to ask you to wait for her to finish her question before answering. I must say that you're creating quite unnecessary difficulties by continuing to ignore that request.
I'm terribly sorry. Yes.
Mr. Eden, have you, as she said, written letters of complaint about her to her employers?
Yes, I have. And I still feel with every justification. Though I'd like to make it completely plain to her and to my daughter that it had and has nothing whatsoever to do with their sexual relationship. I object to Miss Lawton entirely on the basis of her political beliefs.
And Linda Mason, Mr. Eden, now what do you have to say
Absolute
about
lies, complete rubbish from beginning. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Yes.
But what do you say of it, Mr. Eden, of the allegation? You deny it.
Totally, she's nothing but a... Yes, I do deny it.
Well, finally, Mr. Eden, we must turn now to what is the most difficult part of this case in many ways, that which relates to the evidence given by Inspector Cripps. Now, the one point of disagreement is it not, what his words to you were when he offered you a cigarette after he had cautioned and charged you.
Yes, that is so, yes.
Now, he denies it, but you say that he said to you some such words as, "It had to come." Is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry, Ken, it had to come, something of that sort, yes.
Well, will you tell us why you think he said that? In your own time, Mr. Eden. No need to hurry.
Yes. Well, I know this may sound unbelievable, but it is absolutely true. One Sunday some months ago, Charlie and Inspector Cripps and I, that is, were having a Sunday lunchtime drink together in our village local, like we very often do. Do. And it just so happened that there'd been something in the local paper that week that we'd started to talk about. Now, I wasn't by any means drunk, nothing of that kind, but I had had a
What
couple,
was it that was in the paper that you'd been talking about, Mr. Eden?
Yeah, well, it was the report of a case of some little girls who'd been assaulted by a man. I think he was one of their teachers at school, as a matter of fact, and he'd been sent to prison for it. Well, as I say, I wasn't drunk, but we were talking and so on, and I remember I said to Inspector Cripps something like, well, it was purely as a joke, but I said something like, well, Charlie, if it ever happened to me to be brought up in court, that's the one thing I can imagine myself being charged with. And little girls are, they're my weakness too.
That was rather a strange thing to say, wasn't it? To a friend who was a police inspector?
Yes, of course, it was stupid. I really can't imagine now how I could have done it.
What precisely did you mean by it?
Well, that's the whole point, you see, because what I really meant was absolutely nothing. It was a joke. Well, what I mean is that if it could ever happen to me to commit a crime, I was saying that was the one crime that it wouldn't be out of the question, that I couldn't imagine it. That's all. We were talking absolutely and entirely about personal, private fantasies. And only fantasies, that's all. I never imagined that it could one day, not long afterwards, come back onto me like this.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Eden.
I never laid a finger on her.
Thank you, Mr. Eden.
Mr. Eden, when the house mother, Mrs. Davenport, said she had reason to suspect you were encouraging Barbara in what you yourself admitted was her, I think the word you used was crush, was it not, on you, when Mrs. Davenport said that, she was lying?
Yes.
And when Barbara described how you attempted to assault her by your swimming pool, she was lying also?
Yes.
And she then tore her own clothing and went home sobbing to the children's home and made up a complete and total fabrication about what had happened?
Yes.
And when Miss Lawton, the social worker, says that on one occasion you tried a familiarity with her, she too is lying?
Yes.
And when Linda Mason said that she stopped going to your house because you were always trying to interfere with her. She was lying
Absolutely
also?
and completely, yes.
They are all lying, and you are the only one who is telling the truth?
Yes.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Eden.
Thank you, Mr. Eden. Would you go back over there, please? I call Mrs. Margaret Eden.
Mrs. Margaret Eden.
Mrs. Eden, that he telephoned you at your mother's home that Saturday evening, June the 25th, and asked you what time you were coming home on the Sunday, the following day.
He did, yes.
Did you find that strange?
Yes.
I know this is a very painful subject, Mrs. Eden, but will you say why?
Yes. I wasn't intending to return at all, and Ken knew that.
You had separated from him?
Well, certainly we were going to remain apart for quite some time. At least, so I intended.
But on this Saturday evening, the day you'd left, he phoned you and asked you to go back the next day. The upshot of which was that you returned on the Sunday afternoon.
Yes.
Was there a condition attached to your return? By you, I mean. Did he offer you an undertaking of some sort?
Yes, he promised to give up seeing a certain person.
Yes. Well, I am, of course, not going to ask you to name the person, Mrs. Eden, but can you say a little more about them?
She was the wife of one of his business associates. They'd been having an affair which had been going on and on for a long time, causing great distress to her husband and young children for, well, about 6 months at that time, I think.
It was a very, well, what would you call it, a very engrossing affair, was it?
Very much so. He was deeply infatuated with her, and he'd become, well, we'd both become, well, more or less total strangers because of it.
He had no interest in you as a person, are you saying?
Yes. He had no interest in me, or anything, or anyone else for that matter, at all at that time. He was completely obsessed with her.
Now, you went back home, as you said, on the Sunday afternoon. When did he first tell you that he was going to be charged with these offences for which he is now standing trial?
Later that evening, the Sunday evening.
And do you remember what your reaction was?
Yes. We'd been drinking a little and quarrelling, and when he first said it, I just laughed. I couldn't believe what he was saying. I thought he was just trying to get sympathy for himself from me.
You didn't think that it was possible that he was going to be charged with assaulting or trying to assault Barbara?
I thought it was completely absurd.
Because, oh, well, perhaps you'll tell us yourself why because, will you?
Well, she was so young, and because he was so completely wrapped up with this other woman, that it just had to be absurd.
But gradually you realised that he meant it. He really was going to be charged.
Well, only after I'd talked to Inspector Cripps, and he told me that it was true, and then I realised how serious it was.
Serious? In what way, Mrs. Eden?
Well, there'd been no one there in the house. And I knew as well as he that Barbara had had for a long time a sort of schoolgirl thing about him. I just knew that if she wanted to, she could make things look very bad for him.
Do you believe that there could be anything whatsoever in such an allegation as she has made about your husband, Mrs. Eden?
No, of course they couldn't. It's utterly preposterous.
And finally, just briefly, Mrs. Eden, before you got to know Barbara, was there someone else who came to your home? Another girl, for a short time, to whom you and your husband were unofficial aunt and uncle?
Yes, I believe there was, but it didn't last. She only came for a brief time.
Linda Mason?
Yes, that's right. That was her name, yes.
And she, too, is making the same sort of allegation against your husband, saying he was always trying to get her into a corner and so on. Did you know that?
No. No, I didn't know that, no.
But you'd say the same thing, would you, that knowing your husband, the suggestion would be quite preposterous?
Oh, yes. I'm sure I would.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Eden.
Mrs. Eden, I think we all noticed something which sounded rather like a marked lack of conviction in your tone of voice when you answered that last question. And I'm wondering whether...
With respect, Your Honour, I do not think that my learned friend should be let pursue that. Mr. Eden is not charged with any offences regarding Linda Mason.
With equal respect, Your Honour, excuse me, I would point out that it was my learned friend herself who introduced the subject into the cross-questioning of her witness.
Your Honour, it was the prosecution who brought Linda Mason into this case in the first.
Miss Travers, Mr. Maitland-Wilson, I was going to say myself that I thought perhaps that this was a subject which should not be taken too far. So may we now continue from there, please, Mr. Maitland-Wilson?
Your Honour. Now, are you all right, Mrs. Eden?
Yes. I'm very sorry. I just don't seem able to. I'm sorry. You see, it really is. It's all my fault. If only I'd been a better wife, and that none of this would ever have happened.
Yes. Well, I think I have no further questions for this witness, madam.
Mrs. Eden, you and your husband are in fact separated again at this moment, are you not?
Yes. Yes, we are.
So there is no personal gain for you in coming to give evidence as you have done on his behalf?
No. That's right, yes, no.
Thank you, Mrs. Eden.
Thank you, Mrs. Eden. You may leave the witness box.
That is the case for the defence, Your Honour.
Mum?
The chain and pendant were Barbara's, and when the police inspector arrived, the accused was wearing them. And neither then nor since, as far as we have heard, did he make the slightest attempt to explain why he never made any attempt whatever to return them to their rightful owner, nor indeed to express any concern or contrition at not having done so. Well, I submit to you that that is theft. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the second charge, the one of indecent assault on Barbara Brown. At least two other people, Miss Lawton, a very senior and responsible social worker, and Miss Mason, a former resident of Broom Lodge, have both said that they, in their time, have had similar experiences, quite literally at the hands of Mr. Eden. Now, members of the jury, and particularly the female members of the jury, you will all be well aware, I'm sure, that there is a by no means uncommon type of man who, as the saying goes, is quite unable to keep his hands to himself. He regards almost any female, of whatever age, as what I believe is called fair game, and he tries on his behavior with every one of them he meets. Now then, members of the jury, we have the accused on that afternoon of Saturday, the 25th of June last. A hot day. Mr. Eden, perhaps a little under the influence of drink, alone in his house, and lonely, his wife having left him, with a young and inexperienced girl lying near him, a girl whom he admits he was well aware had a romantic, juvenile attachment to him. Can there really be any doubt at all in your minds as to what happened? I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that on the balance of probabilities, given that situation, given his character and hers, that what Barbara Brown says did occur, did, just as she says it did, and that the prosecution has clearly shown that it did.
Members of the jury, these two charges, both of them, there is only one word, isn't there, which describes them. And that one word surely is, isn't it, the word pathetic? The chain and pendant. Is it credible that Mr. Eden should want, even for a moment, to steal such a trinket? Members of the jury, I can only say, as was said by someone else in a different context, if you will believe that, you will believe anything. Now, as to the second charge. All I ask is that you put out of your minds all the wild and grossly unfair allegations that have been made against Mr. Eden and confine yourselves strictly to considering the facts, or the lack of them, which refer to the actual charges. Well, it's been only too clear, hasn't it, that having no facts at their command, the technique of the prosecution has been simply to sling as much mud as possible in the hope that some of it might stick. Surely you will not say that Mr. Eden's good name and reputation is to be irreparably damaged by evidence so tenuous and so suspect as that which has been offered here. Members of the jury, I am confident that you will not.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure you will agree that one very important thing at stake in this case is the good name of the accused, and that really depends on whose story you believe. Now, you must not assume that because the accused is a man of substance and standing, that he therefore has to be believed. Equally, you will not take it for granted that because Barbara Brown, the inmate for Children's Home, had some difficulty in explaining the phone call which she said she had received inviting her to tea with Mr. Eden, that you must therefore necessarily disbelieve her account of everything else. Far from it. I'm sure you will forgive me for saying that what you're really being asked to answer is it not, one of the oldest questions of all time. What went on in the Garden of Eden? Well, now, I will recapitulate for you the evidence.
Prisoner will stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
On the first count of stealing a silver necklet and pendant, value £7, from Barbara Mary Brown, do you find the accused Kenneth Edward Eden guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
And on the second count of indecently assaulting Barbara Mary Brown, a minor, do you find the accused Kenneth Edward Eden guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
It is.
Well, Miss Travers, on this second count, which you will agree is the more serious, I expect you might wish to address me in mitigation on behalf of your client.
Yes, Your